Good morning everyone, it's Wednesday the 16th of October. Having used the van for the last few weekends in fairly grotty, wet, grey overcast weather, I've realised that the glorified split charge system that's part of the Genesis ambulance control system, over there behind the seat, isn't charging my AGM leisure batteries fully when we're driving the vehicle. An AGM leisure battery to fully charge requires between 14.6 14.8 volts. An alternator, a good alternator, at the most will do 14.4. I may have a problem with my alternator because I'm only seeing about 14 volts out of it, and I can address that separately. But right now I'm going to replace the Epever Tracer MPPT solar charger with this Ring B2B and combined MPPT Tracker. I bought this last year to use in Thistle. It's been in Thistle just keeping the chassis battery charged for ages, and it's done a perfectly good job of maintaining the float voltage. I always had my suspicions that the B2B system in this van would not, not the B2B system, the effectively split charge system in this van would not be good enough for long-term use. We think about it, an ambulance is either engine running all day and therefore the batteries are being trickle charged quite happily at a lowish voltage, or they're on mains hookup when the decent, proper, grown-up Voltronic intelligent charger is pushing the batteries up to their maximum capacity. So the batteries don't do a huge amount, whereas obviously when you're camping, I'm running televisions, a heater, lights, all sorts of things. Those batteries, I want them as near to maximum as possible when I pull up. I certainly don't want a situation, which is what is actually happening, where the batteries are typically at a better state of charge off of solar than they are off the alternator. So when I start the engine, if the batteries are fully charged, because they've been on solar, the first thing that happens is a split charge system simply links them to the chassis battery. End result, you're discharging your leisure batteries into the chassis battery and letting the alternator off doing the work. So today's video basically will be this out, this in, and hopefully then I'll be seeing a much higher voltage going into my leisure batteries. And I'm also hoping that this has got a more intelligent set of charging stages for the solar output than this has. This thing doesn't seem to apply any intelligence to charging through solar at all. You can set lots of settings, but its idea of a bulk charge isn't a bulk charge at all. Its idea of a bulk charge is a thing called a boost setting. You just tell it how many hours you want it to boost for. It's not doing any current monitoring, it's not switching back to absorption, it doesn't then switch down to float. It simply bulk charges for the predefined period, unless the voltage drops down to a predefined voltage, and it starts all over again. I don't think I like it. I'm not sure. I'm going to stick this in Thistle. I'm going to use this to keep the chassis battery charged up, but I don't think I'm getting an efficient charge into my batteries out of it. So that's another reason to take it out. Time will tell though. It's going to be the turn of this thing. While I'm talking, you'll notice seats are out. Can't really work in the van with the seats in the way. Bolts, I always put bolts back in when I take anything out, that way I don't lose them. A word of caution, my Sprinter, and it probably applies the same to Crafters, but my Sprinter has airbags in the seats. When you take the seats out and disconnect the airbags, do not turn the ignition on. If you turn the ignition on, you have to clear the resultant fault code from the airbag ECU with a proper code reader, either the Mercedes Star system or one of the advanced scan tools, something like Kali. You can't clear it with the generic OBD tool, and that's annoying, as I found out when I did this by mistake the first time around. I bought Kali. I bought Kali since then, and not a problem now. Kali's very good. Help me find a faulty glow plug in this van. Right, so stop waffling now. Going to pull all this apart. There we are, that's the Ring unit installed. It's a little, well, it's quite a bit wider than the Epever unit. So I've mounted it on a piece of plastic salvaged from the ambulance, and it does stick out slightly past the door frame, but that's pretty irrelevant because the seat sticks out even further, so we're not going to catch on it. And it's quite happily ticking away at the moment. Float charge on the batteries. I haven't put the seat back in yet, so I haven't reconnected the airbag, so I haven't run the engine to check the B2B part. I put in a, he says, getting it straight, a switch up there, a couple quid, and that's simply in the power feed to this Sterling power device. I want to be able to turn this off when the engine's running, and I also want to turn it off when we're away for weekends or whatever, simply to preserve as much capacity in the leisure batteries as possible. But during the week, when the leisure batteries are doing nothing at all other than ticking away, this can be turned on and it keeps the chassis battery charged up. I've done some calculations on my chassis battery. There's about 110 milliamp permanent load on it. It's the backup for the radio, the alarm. There's probably some current being drawn by the interface that provides CAN bus to analog outputs for the Genesis system. But end result is, over a week, that's 20 amps. So 7 days and my battery's down by over 80%. So there is a benefit in having this little trickle charger here just to actually keep the chassis battery topped up when the vehicle's sitting on the drive. It's better than plugging it into the mains all the time. So that's that done. Next job, verify the B2B function from the alternator's working. I've already disconnected the split charge system. I've connected up the temperature probe to the batteries. So now I'm going to put the seat back in and verify everything works.